Today I'm going to discuss the most important topic is machine translation. Those students who are in second year, third year and have a translation subject is all about those students is most important topic is all about the machine translation. Machine translation is repeated in your exam again and again. The topic is very important. That's why I'm discussing with you. The machine translation sometimes refers to by the abbreviations, which is not confused with computer aided translation or machine aided human translation. Machine translation sometimes refers to by the abbreviations, which is not confused with computer aided translation or machine aided human translation, which is a subfield of computational linguistics that investigates the use of software to translate text. So, machine translation is all about the when the machine is doing the human like translation according to the software inherent in our system as well as in our laptop. On a basic level, machine translation performs mechanical substitutions of words in another, but that alone rarely produces a good translation because recognitions of whole phrases. On the basic levels, machine translations performs mechanical substitutions of words in another, but that alone rarely produced a good translation because recognition of whole phrases. So in the machine translation this kind of things happening while machine doing according to the software translation, sometime it will be not enough good in the comparison of human translation just because of the word phrases. The origins of machine translation can be traced back to the work of Al-Kindi, a 19th century Arabic scribe photographer who developed techniques for systematic language translations including cryptanalysis, frequency analysis, probability analysis, and statistics. So here we have a Elkindin in the 19th century Arabic cryptographer who developed the technique for the systematic language translations, which included cryptanalysis, frequency analysis, probability analysis, and statistics. So this kind of a features the software have in order to doing a machine translation. And who is the founder? The founder is Al-Kindi. In which year? In which century? A 19th century Arabic cryptographer who developed the technique for systematic language translations. The human translation process describes as decoding the machines of source text, decoding the meaning of the source text, or re-encoding the meaning in the target language. The human translation process is dependent on the two type of translations. Decoding the meaning of the source text while we are translate the whole sentence meaning into the another language is all about the decoding. And the second one is R encoding. R encoding this means in the target language. R encoding This means in the target language, which kind of a language we want to translate in the another language. The idea of machine translation later appeared in the 17th century. In 1629, Rene Descartes proposed a universal language with equivalent idea in different tongues sharing one symbols. So the idea of machine translations later appeared in the 17th century. In 1629, Rene Descartes proposed a universal language with equivalent ideas in different tongues sharing one symbols. So this kind of a technique, this kind of a universal language is proposed by the Rene Descartes. The idea of using digital computers for translations of natural languages was proposed as early as 1946 by England A.D. Booth and Warren Weaver in 1949. The idea of using digital computers for translations of natural language was proposed as early as in 1946 by England A.D. Booth and Warren Weaver in 1949. So this is also a very most important point you have to write in your exam. Researchers continued to join the field as the Associations for Machine Translation and Computational Linguistics was formed in the US. Researchers continued to join the field as the Association for Machine Translation and Computational Linguistics was formed in US. The National Academy of Science formed the Automatic Language Processing Advisory Committee, which is AIPAC, to study machine translation 1964. So the National Academy of Science formed the Automatic Language Processing Advisory Committee AIPAC to study machine translation 1964. So the conclusion of whole answer is that machine translation sometimes referred to by the abbreviations which is not confused with the computer aids translations or machine aids human translations. So this kind of a descriptions we have about the machine translations, and these are the most important point you have to write your in your answer while you are attempting this kind of a questions. The questions is repeating in your exam, what is machine translation and human translation process. So basically you have to define and describe the whole descriptions and what are the difference between both of them. You have to write all the point very properly. ठीक है? So now you have to follow the same structure. First of all, you have to write the introduction of the machine translations. Machine translations sometimes referred to by the abbreviations, which is not confused with the computer aids translation and machine aids human translations, which is a subfield of computational linguistics that investigates the use of software to translate text. As I have discussed with you, the whole answer is based about the machine translation while the machine is doing the translation work, and which kind of a software, which kind of a linguistics, and which kind of a universal language is developed by our founders just because doing this kind of a process by the machine, which is called machine translation, which can be possible by the by our computer system as well as with our laptop. So this kind of a software we have, and who are the founder of this kind of linguistics, who are the founder of this kind of a software and universal equivalent language. I have discussed all the point in this answer, so you have to define all the things very properly. On a basic level, machine translation perform mechanical substitutions of words in another, but that alone really produce a good translation because recognition of whole phrases. Sometimes the machine translation is not good enough in the comparison of the human translation because the word phrases. The origin of machine translation can be tracked back to the work of the Elkin, a 19th century Arabic Christopher who developed the techniques for the systematic language translations, including cryptanalyzations and frequency analysis, probability analysis, and statistics. Here we have the human translation process, which is two types: decoding the meaning of the source text while we try to translate the meaning of the whole text, and the R encoding the meaning in the target language. The idea of machine translation later appeared in the 17th century. In 1629, René Descartes proposed a universal language with the equivalent idea, different tongues sharing one symbols. ठीक है? The idea of using digital computer for translation of natural language was proposed as early as 1946 by England A.D. Bott and Warren Weaver in 1949. Researchers continued to join the field as the Associate for the Machine Translations and the Computational Linguistics was formed in the US. The National Academy of Science formed the Automatic Language Processing Advisory Committee (AIPAC) to study the mechanical translation in 1964. The conclusion of the translation is that uh, the machine translation sometimes refers to by the abbreviation, which is not confused with the computer aided translation or machine aided human translations. And you have to write your in your answer like 100 to 250 words in order to gain the 25 marks if the question will be come in the long answer. If the question will be coming in your exam in the short point, you have to write the sum point, not 100 to 250 words. The answer is prepared for the long type questions which is coming in your exam. So try to prepare both of it. Thank you so much. This video is very important according to your examination point of view. Thank you so much. You have to write the whole answer in the same manner. The short type of questions is coming like what is machine translation? Either define the machine translation, and it can be also come like a what is the difference between the machine translation or the human translation, and how the both are different to each other. So I hope you understood. Thank you so much.